Now, you say that you have some specialties as far as working with problem horses. What are some of the type of problems that you see a need to be fixed in the horses that you work with?
The very common problem I see is horses that are overreactive. So I had a horse who would be fine being ridden alone in the indoor, but as soon as you brought another horse in, he'd be rearing and bucking. So that's a very common problem that I see. And again, one of the solutions for that is allowing the horse to exercise and to let it out of their system, and slowly start teaching them that when you're with them, they have to pay attention, and they can't just run around like crazy animals. And one way I would go about teaching a horse to do that is by breaking it down into little steps. I wouldn't ask a horse, say an off-the-truck thoroughbred, I wouldn't expect that horse to stand still and behave with a lot of outside stimulus. It would take time, so I try to introduce stimulus slowly to that horse and slowly raise expectations and ask more and more from the horse, but I would never do it all of a sudden. It's all about breaking it down and doing it step by step.
What advice, and I'm going to lead off of that because that's really, really good pointers for people who are listening. So what advice would you give someone who's having an overreactive horse, who has a horse that's bucking or rearing or running away or having some specific problem that's maybe based in fear or not understanding what the person is asking of it? What specific steps would you break it down for our listeners to be able to apply to their horses?
I would first make sure they're getting plenty of turnout, plenty of exercise, and then I would do, if they're nervous and afraid of things around them, I would do a lot of desensitizing, which means getting them used to various things, anything from plastic bags to, you can really get creative with this. Just desensitize your horse to as many things as you can, whether it's objects, noises, or even movements, like people doing jumping jacks. From there, once the horse starts to build some confidence and trust in you, I would make sure that, well, before all that, I would make sure the horse is respecting your space and that you have their respect. And one neat thing you can do once you have the horse's respect and control of their feet is when they overreact, if you can somehow redirect that energy into something constructive and positive, it will teach them to use their thinking side of their brain a lot more than the reacting side of their brain. So if I had this horse that would rear, and every time he reared, I would calmly redirect the energy by making him work, go left and right, and eventually that behavior went away.
Expand a little bit on the thinking side versus the reacting side. That is intriguing to me.
So horses are prey animals, which means in the wild, their mode of survival is being able to react. So if at any point they feel threatened or there might be trouble, like a mountain lion or predator, their first instinct is to run. And most of the time they'll just run at things that could potentially be dangerous, even though they're not. So if they hear a noise or see a shadow, in their mind they're thinking, predator, I have to get out of there. So often, especially with the more hot-blooded horses, their first instinct is just to run away. And since we're working with them, we don't want that instinct to be the first thing they do. We want them thinking instead of running. So through desensitizing, we start teaching the horse to use their thinking side of the brain a lot more rather than being impulsive.